A Premier League title winner is crowned at Anfield on Sunday. We'll tell you what it means for the power rankings of English football going forward. And a dramatic finish in the Netherlands throws the title race out of balance. 2 goals in stoppage time. We'll give you the who, what, and where. And in baseball, the season's first no-hitter comes out of Japan. We'll tell you who done it and against whom. And finally, at long last, we put this man on trial for his crimes against the sporting world. All this and more comes your way on this week's edition of the International Sports Report. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the International Sports Report on the final week of April 2025. My name is Marshall Emmert, Matthew Gieske alongside me as always, and we've got a whole lot of stuff to talk about. It's been a weird week, MG. You mentioned when we were talking off air before we got started, not a whole lot of news to discuss. And as you noticed in our open, our top stories, at least 2 or 3 of them, are fixture results. Sometimes it happens that way. These were some fun games. Are you excited to talk about them?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The big one, however, though, before we get into the nitty-gritty, is a Premier League champion was crowned on Sunday. Liverpool FC knocks out Tottenham Hotspur. LL Cool J's them completely. Mama said knock you out, so I'm going to score 5 goals in front of the home crowd and only concede the one, which was kind of miraculous that they even conceded the first one. But there it is. They are now 15 points ahead and crowned champions equal to Manchester United, a 20th time to become the joint most successful club in English football. Whether or not they take the lead next year is another matter entirely. And of course, let's all laugh at Arsenal for a second because this was going to go down as a season to forget for them. We'll give you the nitty-gritty details and the stats and whatnot when we get into the games of the week. But Reds win. I was at Random Row, the local Liverpool bar here in Charlottesville, thoroughly debasing myself, singing songs and jumping around like an idiot. Here is some evidence. Oh, it was the best. It was a great day. It was a really, really great day. Elsewhere in Europe, as our second top story, 2 title races in flux right now. And looking like both of them are going to go down to the wire. In Italy, Napoli managing to take first place in the Serie A after a dramatic victory for the Wolves of Roma over Inter Milan. Can't wait to tell you about that one a little bit later on in the show. But because of that, an Inter loss and a Napoli win means we have a new leader in the Serie A. And this thing it's going to go down to the last of the final whistles going into May. You're not going to want to miss a second of it. We'll tell you all about that in a little while. But the other was in the Netherlands. We talked last week about Ajax's collapse in front of Utrecht, but you thought that might have been the end. You thought that maybe they were going to win out and possibly win the title before the season was over. Well, you thought wrong. They played Sparta Rotterdam while PSV played Twente, and they won. Another one we'll get into a little bit later on. But PSV winning means Ajax had to win in order to keep their lead where they wanted it to. Spoiler alert, they didn't. They went a full 90 minutes completely drawless after completely dominating Sparta. The numbers, MG, are shocking. 14 shots for Rotterdam, 28 for Ajax, 11 corners, and 66% possession to 34% possession.
Ooh.
And it still finished 0-0. Both goals came in stoppage time. So in the 95th minute, Mohamed Nassau of Rotterdam breaks through and nabs a goal, thundering it past Mateus, the Ajax keeper. And it looks, for just about 2 minutes, like this is a monumental collapse. But then Kenneth Taylor gets subbed off in minute 97 for young Yori Rehir. And Rehir ties the match in the 97th minute to ensure that Ajax escapes with 1 point.
Incredible.
Oh my word, what a game. Like, well, I'm gonna link the highlights down in the description to make sure that you don't miss it because it's prime football. And it's, if you want to describe to someone who doesn't really get it why football's amazing and they're like, "Oh, they don't score." It's not about the scoring.
No, not at all.
That's the
Never
biggest
was.
thing. That is the biggest thing about it. But anyway, final top story. We got to go to baseball for a little bit because we had the first no-hitter of the season here on ISR, and it's only appropriate that it came from Japan. Honestly, I love that a Japanese pitcher threw one before an American even came close. I always do. And even better, it happened to the Cebu Lions, who no-hit the SoftBank Hawks thanks to one of the, like, everybody talks about how good Roki Sasaki was and great Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, all these great pitchers. Remember the name Tatsuya Imai. That's all I'll say. He has been in the league since 2020, since he was 21 years old, and has been knocking on the door of a performance like this for a very long time, especially this season. His stuff is absolutely unhittable and is just now entering his prime. He goes into rage mode, strikes out 9 batters over 8 innings of work against the Hawks. Why he wasn't allowed to pitch the ninth, I will never know. But I defer naturally to the expertise of Fumiya Nishiguchi, manager, who is one of the greats to ever do it in NPB, and there's a reason why he's managing the team. And I am not, but Kaima Taira, one of the best closers in the world, comes on and finishes it off for a combined no-hitter. Very, very cool. So congratulations to both him and Ima-san for bringing honor to the team. But that concludes the top stories around world sports for this week. We do need to check in with hockey, and you've got some information for us on that, don't you? So what happened in the playoffs over the course of
Yes,
the last
I
week?
do. So, in the Swedish Hockey League, the final series continues. Brynäs trails Luleå 2-3. Game 6 will be tomorrow
Your
at
Swedish is getting better.
2 p.m. local time, which is 8 on the East Coast and 7 in the morning for our Central Time viewers,
Cool boy.
which will likely be before this episode airs.
That is
But if it
true.
goes to 7, if it goes to Game 7, that will be on Saturday at 9:15 East, 8:15 Central. So hoping for a nice Saturday morning game there out of Sweden.
We do like this is, I forget, I think I was talking to my wife about this, that how great is it that we get to watch high profile sports just in the early morning on a
Oh, it's
weekend. Just
fantastic.
get some coffee going, put some football on, put some hockey on. It's great. I love it.
Absolutely.
But
Wake up
continue,
at
please.
6 in the morning, watch some Premier League. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yes, that's what I'm talking about. And I mean, Japanese baseball happens even earlier, so there it is. But I'm distracting you. So what else is
No,
happening in
no, no.
Sweden?
Moving on to Germany in the Deutsche Eishockey Liga, the Eisbären close out Köln 4-1 to finish the series. and they take the German championship. The final three games all finished 7-0 for the Ice Bears.
Yikes! I was rooting for Colm too, but
Yeah,
no, there it is. Just not to be for them this year. It looks like.
not to be. Berlin's championship does mean that the regular season third place Penguins Bremerhaven will take the Deutsche Eishockey Liga's final Champions Hockey League position.
Okay. Well, I don't like that there's a Penguins in every league, but there it is.
Your Philly is showing.
Yes, yes. Guilty as charged. But anyway, continue.
In Liga, Kalpa is up 3-1 over Saipa. Game 5 will be on Friday at 7:30 local time, 11:30, 10:30 Central.
Okay.
And the winner of that series will secure the final Champions Hockey League season or position for next season. Excuse me.
So tell us a
In
little
the
bit about, not to cut you off, but tell us a little bit
Yep,
about the Champions Hockey League. Does it work the same as the UEFA version, the soccer version that we're all used to? Actually, the
very
football
similar.
version we're all used to? Okay.
Yeah, very, very similar. There's, X number of positions allocated to the top hockey countries, and the
Okay.
lower countries get a couple scattered here and there.
It's a great
Champion, of
system.
course, gets an auto bid.
If it ain't
So
broke,
very,
don't
very
fix.
similar.
Okay, cool, 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 cool. All right. So Germany, what else? Where else we going? Went to Finland.
Uh, yep. Now to Czechia.
Okay.
Kometa Brno wins 4-3 over Pardubice. That series went to 7, which is always exciting.
Mm.
And with that championship, Kometa Brno claim the second to last remaining CHL position. So we are just waiting on the results out of Finland for that
Oh
to
boy.
know the full table.
So tell us when we're going to know those results.
We will know by Game 5 is on Friday.
Okay.
Kalpa has the chance to close it out.
All right.
If not, then the next game I believe will be Sunday, but don't quote me on that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll make sure we do some extra research on our end here and post it in the description for you.
Yep. So around Europe, your picture for the Champions Hockey League
Okay.
out of Switzerland. We've got the ZSC Lions Zurich. They are the reigning champions and thus naturally get an auto bid. Joining them will be Lausanne HC, as well as SC Bern and EV Zug.
Okay.
Out of Austria, we've got KAC Klagenfurt, RB Salzburg. I'm sure I don't need to explain to you what RB means in that context.
Nope, I do not know.
As well as HC Bolzano. Because interesting thing about the ICE Hockey League out of Austria is there are a couple Italian teams and some others.
I guess that makes sense. I mean, they share a region up there. Northern Italy is there's a lot of sort of shared
Yeah.
DNA, I guess, with Austria. That makes sense.
Yeah. From Czechia, we've got Kometa Brno, Sparta Prague, and Mountfield HK. From Liga will be Luko Roma, Ilves Tampere, and the winner of the Kalpa Saipa series. From Germany, Eisbären, Ingolstadt, and Penguins. Coming out of Sweden, we already know Brenas and Luleå. They're both already in the Champions League, as well as Frölunda Gothenburg. So
Okay.
the only thing riding on that series in Sweden is the title.
All right. Well, that makes all the sense in the world. I'm happy to hear this, and also to get Prague's names called as well, because
Absolutely.
in Czech Extra League Baseball, which maybe that'll be something we can touch on in the
Ooh,
future.
yeah, something to add to the docket.
Eagles Praha fielded the most members of Team Czech Republic in the World Baseball Classic of 2023. So that was how I ended
Interesting.
up choosing my team in Czechia. I'm still not
All
used
right.
to that.
Yeah, it's
There it
strange.
is.
Denmark, we got probably the coolest league name in the world with the Metal Ligaen.
Ooh, okay. I'm here for that.
We've got the Odense Bulldogs, which is their first season in the Champions Hockey League after their first domestic title.
Dang,
So, hoping for some good things from the Bulldogs.
good for them.
Um,
That's awesome.
from France, we've got Grenoble, who are the Brûleurs de Loup. which is wolf burners in French.
Let's
They've got
go.
a logo. I'm gonna need you to look up when we're done with this.
Okay.
It's something.
I mean, you had me on the name, honestly.
Wolf burners. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you
Um,
can't make this up. Every language other than English is so cool.
oh yeah. From Norway, we've got Storhamar playing out of Hamar. And fun fact about them, they play at the Hamar Olympic Amphitheater, also known as the Northern Lights Arena, which is the largest wooden structure in Northern Europe. Very pretty building.
Wow. An
Very
entire
pretty building.
wooden stadium is something I have to see. This is
Oh,
really sweet.
there's a tournament played every year in Switzerland's Davos that we'll have to pay attention to. It is the prettiest sporting venue in the world, and I will fight on that.
You know what? Let's really quickly before we roll on use some editing magic. Let's take a look at the stadium in Norway. That's right there. God, that's absolutely beautiful. And then going to Switzerland right here. The architecture speaks for itself. Honestly, this is
Absolutely.
wonderful, grand, epic. I love it. I love it. I'm all in on
And
international
then
hockey.
from Poland, we've got GKS Tyche as their representative, and out of the UK, the Belfast Giants of the EIHL.
Okay,
And
I
that's
like the
your
Northern Ireland
docket.
representation. All right. Well, there you have it. It'll be it'll take in shape. Does it start at the beginning of when does the actual Champions League season start?
It's concurrent with the regular season, so we'll be
Gotcha.
looking
Okay.
around a September start for that. I don't know
All
the
right.
exact date, but we'll bring you a preview when we get closer to that.
Yes, we will. All right. Without much further ado, before we roll on to talking a little bit of racing, and as promised from last week, and as you probably ascertained by the presence of Stephen A. Smith's face in the intro, we will proceed with our takedown of take culture imminently. But right now, starting in the Premier League, naturally, as promised, 5-1 Liverpool versus Tottenham. Goals from Luis Diaz, Alexis McAllister, Cody Gakpo, an own goal, and of course, Mohamed Salah lock up the Premier League title and bring the trophy back to Anfield Road, and it was quite the celebration. In the Netherlands, 3-1 PSV versus Twente. They are able to move up in the table thanks to the dramatic draw from Ajax. But in terms of the PSV Twente match, despite Ricky van Volkswinkel giving Twente an early lead, Ivan Perisic ties it up in the 11th minute, and goals from Gust Hill and big Luke de Jong ended up sealing it for PSV. And into Italy we go. That 1-0 Roma super victory. Mattia Sula sized through the Inter defense to steal a goal and galvanize the Romans to stop Inter's Scudetto charge right in its tracks. Inter stumbles, Napoli takes advantage. But should Roma keep up this form, they may be on for a third place finish. Bayern and Mainz. Munich wins that one 3-0. Eric Dyer, Leroy Sané, and Michael Olise all powering Munich past Mainz and to one step closer. They lead by 8 with 3 games left over Leverkusen. Win, and the title is theirs next week. And then 3 games in the weekend series in the world of baseball. Hanshin Yomiuri Tigers win the series again, 2-1. Shoki Murakami twirling a gem for the Giants in Game 1 as the offense picks him up. Teraki Sato in a big game, going 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs. He is now your NPB home run leader. Suguru Iwazaki grabs the save in a 4-1 victory for Hanshin. 6 runs on 10 hits for the Hanshin offense in Game 2, helping out John Duplantier as they extended their winning streak to 6 games with a 6-2 victory. But the Giants did get one back thanks to Taisei Ota and Rydell Martinez getting the win and save respectively. Final 2 innings of stellar relief pitching for the Giants were what helped them hold the Tigers offense and win the game 2-1 thanks to the game-winning RBI from Naoki Yoshikawa in the 9th. In Korea, Wiz and Eagles. Eagles win the weekend series 2-1 during 3 games, all decided by 1 run. Son Dong-hyun gets the win in relief for the Wiz in Game 1 after a 6-inning shutout performance from Sohyo Jun in a no decision. Neither offense really materialized throughout the game until the top of the 9th when leadoff man Mel Rojas Jr. got a go-ahead single into right field. Wiz win it 2-1. Eagles charged back in Game 2, and another foreign hitter, Esteban Florial, gave the Eagles a 2-1 lead that Moon Dong-ju held down for 7 2/3 innings pitched. Kim Seo-hyun gets the save, and Hanwha the victory. Sunday was the highest scoring game of the series. Right fielder Lee Jin-young was the offensive star for Hanwha, going 3 for 3 with a run scored. Lee and his team built a 4-0 lead that they almost let slip in the ninth, surrendering 3 runs, but no more to the Wiz, thanks to a team-up of Kim Jong-soo and Kim Bum-soo. Hanwha wins 4-3, and the series 2-1. And finally, in the CBPL, Hawks versus Lions in the weekend series. Lions win the series 2-1. Good run for the Hawks, ending in defeat in this series, unfortunately. Lions winning on the backs of some great pitching from CC Mercedes in Game 1 and Lin Zhaoen in Game 3 to win 4-1 on Friday and 2-1 on Sunday. The Hawks offense does manage to notch a Game 2 victory with a score of 6-2. And with that, let's take a look at how the table has shaped up, starting in the Bundesliga. As we mentioned, Bayern Munich just 8 points away of closing things out over Bayer Leverkusen, and no real shakeups in the table except for Freiburg charging up into 4th place, knocking Leipzig off their perch. But that might change this week, as we'll hear about in just a moment. Going into Serie A, Napoli, your new leader, 74 points on the year, leading by 3 over Inter, 71. And the gap between 2nd and 3rd might be a little too wide, but we'll have to see how everything plays out. And it's just going to be a bloodbath 3 through 6, because look at how little is separating those two teams. In the Netherlands, Ajax lead by 7 points for now. PSV has a game in hand and could side it down to 4 should everything go right for them this week. Feyenoord and Utrecht rounding out the top 4, and no change in the bottom feeders. Naturally, relegation already looming for those 3 clubs. Same in the Premier League, Liverpool locking it up. And as we get to the end of this season, it's all really going to be more about who takes those Champions League places. Nottingham Forest, Chelsea, and Manchester City all duking it out for that 4th place spot. And I'll honestly throw Newcastle in that mix, because they are far from clear. And then in baseball, beginning in NPB, Hanshin leads the table as of April the 29th when we are recording this. Yamanuri just behind them by half a game, and Hiroshima rounding at the playoff places, 1.5 games back. Bay Stars and Dragons both 3 games back, Yakult by 4, but they have just got Munetaka Murakami back, so that might shuffle the standings up a little bit. Buffalo's remaining in the lead in Pacific League. Fighters and Eagles both a game and a half off them. Cebu 2 games off of those, or a half game rather off of those 2 off of Oryx, because they seem to be the Buffalo Hunters at this point. Marines and Hawks rounding out that table. In the CBPL, Dragons have retaken the lead, but again, the tricky thing with these standings is that every single team has played a different number of games up to this point in time. Dragons lead for now, Lions a half game back, Brothers a game and a half back. And then finally in Korea, the LG Twins seem to be largely unstoppable. Samsung in 2nd, and well done to UMG for predicting the resurgence of the Hanwha Eagles. They are in 3rd place. Giants, Wiz, Tigers 4, 5, 6, and then the Landers, Bears, Dinos, and Heroes rounding things out. But now, the moment of truth, as we pull up our games of the week for the week ahead going into May, and I'll toss it over to my partner. Tell us what we got to look forward to.
Well, starting in the Premier League, we've got Manchester City and Wolves, the league title already being locked up by Liverpool, of course. It is now down to those Champions League positions. Manchester City are in the hot seat at the moment. They'll take on Wolves on Friday to keep pace and try to pull away. I don't know if they're going to do it, though. Not this season.
We'll have to see.
Sittard and PSV. Ajax is off this week. PSV has a game in hand, down by 7. With a win, they will cut that to 4, as previously stated. 3 games remaining. After Ajax's draw with Sparta Rotterdam, the earliest they can win the title is Wednesday, May 14th against Groningen, with a victory, and that's only assuming PSV stumbles.
which they may not.
All eyes are on the new leaders after Inter stumbled last week. Now it's Napoli's turn to try their hand at being king of the hill. One slip up and it's all over. Luckily, it should be an easy test against Lecce. In the Bundesliga, we've got Munich and Leipzig. It will be up to Xavi Simons and RB Leipzig to try and stall Bayern's lifting of the trophy, which really feels inevitable as it does every year, doesn't it?
Unfortunately so.
It's very simple, as always, for Bayern. Win and the trophy is theirs. We'll see if they will be able to get it over the line. In the CBPL, we've got the weekend series, Dragons and Monkeys. The ERA leader, Drew Gagnon, versus joint top home run hitter, Lee Lin. Should be a fun series, especially the first game. In the KBO, the weekend series is the Eagles and the Tigers. Eagles have found some serious form towards the end of the month. Can they win another series, or will the defending champions find a way to get into rhythm and climb the table before it gets out of hand? In Japan, we've got Buffaloes and Eagles. Oryx look human, but I think we owe them an apology based on our season preview.
Yep.
And they are holding on to that first place thanks to some truly awesome pitching and their big outfield bats. They'll take on the hottest team in the Pacific League right now, the Rakuten Golden Eagles.
That'll be a fun one. We'll see if the Eagles can find... Again, they're a little bit inconsistent right now, but they're one of those teams, and this is weird because they've always kind of been this throughout their entire history, except for the year they won the Japan Series. They do a lot of little things well. They do a lot of things competently, but they do not excel in any category at all, in my view. But there it is. So there are your games of the week for the week of April the 29th, rolling into the month of May. And speaking of the month of May, we do have a race coming up this Sunday.
Yes,
Finally
we
returning
do.
to F1, going to Miami. This Sunday at 4 p.m. We talked about it on last week's show. I will not be watching. You might be. We will have to see what happens because it is Star Wars Day, and I must observe the holiday, naturally.
Absolutely.
But the talking points, at least in my view, are as follows. Oscar Piastri, after his win in Jeddah, is going into this weekend as the fastest man in the world in the fastest car in the world. So what goes wrong for McLaren, if anything at all?
Hard to see much going wrong for him at this rate.
Me neither. And this is just something that he will have to lose this race if he wants to. And
Yeah.
it might be such that maybe something happens in the sprint. We're going to get our second one of those this season.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's just some kind of problem with the car that arises, but we should know this. We should know this feeling because this is what it was like with Max
Yeah.
on his form, where the race really feels like a foregone conclusion unless something really crazy happens. I don't know. You and I are both kind of maybe unfairly counting Max out too soon, but I mean, Oscar's just been dominating all
Yeah.
year long.
You you can't count Verstappen out. You can't.
Yeah. So we'll have to see
You
what
don't
that.
win four consecutive
No,
without, yeah.
no.
And I
For
mean, McLaren has had a couple dodgy pits this season so far, but not nearly as bad as Red Bull has.
Yeah, it's Red Bull's pit crew has been absolutely shocking, and Max, I'm sure, has let them hear about it. But going into the Ferrari garage, we ask ourselves, when is Lewis Hamilton going to break out, if at all? They're already talking. He's already been like, there's rumors that are circulating of his retirement. I don't know,
Yes.
but like, what is this an untenable situation? Is there coming back from this? Yes, obviously, because he's Lewis Hamilton, but I mean, is there something else going on, really?
I don't I don't know what to make of this situation with Hamilton at Ferrari, honestly. The car can't be that bad with how Leclerc's been driving it.
Exactly. I mean,
And
it's listen.
Hamilton can't be that bad either.
Yeah, it's just a case of faulty wiring, maybe just a bad connection. I don't know. Sometimes
Yeah.
this happens. There is historical precedent for it, but not a whole lot. So I don't know. This has never really been a track that Lewis has done well on. I don't think it's going to be this week. probably going to have to go back to Europe before he really has a breakout race. Or at least that's my opinion of
Yes.
it. So going back into Red Bull for a second, knowing that Max is probably on his way out unless he signs a new deal. If they're trying to instantly take the power back for themselves, which they might not be. They might just be like some of these other teams and resigning their result of this season, knowing that this is a foregone conclusion for McLaren. But let's say they're not doing that. What does Red Bull need to do? I mean, is this a car thing, or is this a Max thing, or is it both? I don't really know. I would probably vote this is just, it might take him getting back on a circuit that he's comfortable with, Max, I mean, but this
Yeah.
car just seems like there's just nothing in it whatsoever.
It seems to be a very fast, very difficult car to drive.
And that seems like it should be something that Max could handle just fine.
Yeah. And he
But
has done well so far this season with it.
but he does seem to be chafing.
He
So
does.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But here's a fun one. We've had a couple of teams that have been really dreadful all year long. Sauber comes to mind.
Yes, of course, Sauber.
Haas comes to
Yeah.
mind. RB, not Red Bull, but RB comes to mind. Of those back,
Alpine.
Alpine is another. Oh heaven! Of those backminders, let's each pick a team to have a rebound performance. Maybe somebody who sneaks into the points. I'm gonna cheat a little bit because I know you mentioned that you have an affinity for them in the past. I'm not sure if this is the case now, but I'm gonna say top six for Pierre Gasly in Miami.
Ooh.
He does seem like he's been the better of the two Alpines naturally, doing being the rookie, but he hasn't really managed to find his way that far up the grid yet this year, and I think that changes on a very quick but very curve heavy track in Miami, and Pierre's been really always been quite good on the corners. But what about you?
Okay. I'm gonna say double points for Haas.
Wow, two Haas's in the top 10. That's uh, we're gonna take down take culture in a second, but that's what that is. Anyway,
9 and 10.
9 and 10. Okay, well, yeah, that makes sense because I mean, when you give when Esteban Ocon is on his day, he's a really 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 good driver, and Behrman he's gotten into that car to the points before. It's not a bad machine. I think it's just been always a question of strategy, as it always is with Haas. Like what kind of
Yes.
engineers that they've got in the paddock. So we'll see. All right, I like that prediction. Finally, we're predicting what exactly we're in for in terms of this Cadillac presentation. It
Yes.
could be any number of things. The most common suggestion, if the internet is to be believed, is livery. But might also be like a driver reveal or something. They might have pulled two
Yeah.
people out of IndyCar and be like, "Here's our team for 2026." I don't know. I'm gonna
Danica Patrick.
sure. Why not? Why not? Not that F1 Academy exists or anything already, but yeah, that would be the most Danica thing in the world if she completely surpasses that and finds a way into the
That would
into the
be
Cadillac F1 team.
insane.
But yeah, we watch our earlier videos. There's the thing. If you want our predictions as to who are going to be the members of the Cadillac team come 2026, some were serious, some were not. But I think if anything, here's my suggestion. What you do with a presentation like this, because it's way too early to reveal anything substantial. Do I think
Yes.
it's a livery? It's possible, but I think if anything, it'll be a reveal of a partnership. I don't think Cadillac will
Ooh.
be making its own chassis. I think this will
Okay.
be or its own engine rather.
Yeah.
They will
Who do
be.
you think?
If I had to guess, I don't think it's Honda because they've announced that they're going to be coming back at some point. They want to come back, but they've said they're not ready. I don't know. I don't know. I think this might be, I'm going to say Mercedes partnership.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay.
I think the Mercedes engine is the most desirable on the grid right now. I could be totally wrong and say Ford, but
It'd be interesting.
it may very well be. It could be Ford. It could just be this just monumental all in American introduction to the grid. I mean, this well they could pull the perfect isolationist Monroe Doctrine move and build a Cadillac chassis with a Ford engine and two American drivers to drive the car. I don't know, but we will see. But that's my prediction. If even if it's not Ford, I think this will be some kind of partnership announcement for the new season.
Okay.
What about you?
I There's been a couple of somewhat teaser images that
Yes.
Cadillac have released. So part of me, I think I expect livery. I think I've been conditioned to expect livery.
Yeah, they're making a lot of noise on social media that,
Yeah,
they want, and I think they know that there would be a firestorm if it was anything other than livery. So, I mean, I
yeah.
think you
Which
probably got the safe bet on your hands.
with livery, I think I predict whether we get it this weekend or not. I think I predict we get the classic blue and white of American racing.
I would think, in all in like Lama and things like
Yeah,
that, kind of a real Ken Miles vibe to it. Yeah. I think your reasoning is sound, your logic is safe. We'll see what happens, and we'll have thoughts for it on next week's show. But now, the moment we've all been waiting for, I think. It is time to rake traditional sports media over the coals a little bit. Because, my friend, I don't know if you know this about me, and maybe you at home don't know this about me yet either. I know I haven't mentioned it on the show, but in my day job, I work on the radio and I work on a sports talk show locally here in Charlottesville. And the host of which, he's won multiple Associated Press awards. He is a gentleman and a scholar. I love working with him, and I respect the heck out of what he does. And so this is not to say anything against the validity of the show at which I work. I love the show I work. I think you should listen to it because it's very interesting. And I'll link it down in the description. It's called The Best Seat in the House. If you're in any way invested in Virginia athletics, there it is. But I think over the course of the last few months, I have really got a distaste in my mouth for traditional American sports fandom. You dig me at all?
yes,
Okay. Here's my thinking that what we do here on this show, and what we do for you, who is either watching or listening to this show, is we present sports as art wherever possible. We present them as beautiful circus like, symphony like, ballet like spectacles that completely capture the imagination because that's what they are. We'll report on the business side of things, of course, and maybe dive into a little drama here and there. But by and large, you will not find us trashing athletes on this show
no,
in any stretch of the imagination. And I think that's because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, maybe you think you're one of the better fencers in the world and just has been overlooked, but we know that these guys do what regular people could never do by and large.
absolutely.
And I don't know. I feel like I want to torch a little bit this culture of negativity around watching sports in America. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Where do you want to begin? Because we can start with Stephen A. if you want, but
I
where
mean,
do you want to
yeah,
begin?
Stephen A. The whole industry him and Skip Bayless largely created.
Yeah, I think that we can pretty much point the finger at the both of them at this point because aside from being insiders, these people that are just that they say they know people they're well connected and they present these insider scoops, like hearing what no one else is going to tell you.
Hmm.
What have you done?
Yeah.
Why, why should we listen to you, Skip Bayless? Shannon Sharp, I understand. Shannon Sharp has been there and done that and done some things that we don't want to talk about anymore. But at the very least, the man has a Super Bowl ring. I will listen to
Yes.
what he has to say about sports. Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, everybody on inside the NBA, legends, the lot of them. Ernie Johnson
Yeah.
is a commentator. I will listen to what they have to say about sports. But these guys that make their living off of venting and yelling and trashing these guys that would absolutely smoke them in the sport that they are talking about.
Yes.
And so I ask myself, and maybe you do too, what is the point?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it,
What
yeah,
are they? What benefits are they providing?
yeah. I mean,
All they really do is say that it's a problem that goes beyond them, like to
it
just
does.
media in this country in general. Of you it's rage bait. It's all rage bait. It's all
Yep,
just
there's the
saying,
word.
just throwing things at the wall to generate a response online because that gets people talking and that gets you more advertising dollars.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to pick advertising, you can pick social media, and
Yeah.
gets you more clout there. And I mean, social media has made it possible for everybody who wants to be a Stephen A. Smith to be a Stephen A. Smith. And
Yep.
I'm not sure. I would love to ask him if he really meant this when he said it. But when he said when Shohei Ohtani came over in 2017, and there was such a big deal about him and everything that he was going to bring, he's going to change the game. He did, of course, as we know
Yeah.
later on. But Stephen A says, I think to be the face of baseball in this country, you should have to speak English.
He does.
He does. For one thing. For another, who cares?
Yeah.
But that's not to get too political. But that to me, I want to know if he actually believes that, or if that was something that was said to get clicks. Either way, it's an absolutely reprehensible thing to let come out of your mouth, because
Yes.
what is the point? What does that
Yeah.
say to the
And
kids watching your show, man? Like, seriously, or
well,
reading your articles?
yeah. And it completely ignores the history of the sport as well. Like with so many Dominican, Cuban, other Latin American players that we've had that have been mega stars in the MLB.
Yeah, no, it really, really does. I mean, what our hope is, and again, maybe this you can take this as political, but the more, the wider that sports reach, and the more global every single game is, the richer and more fulfilling and more exciting sports will get. I mean, can you imagine if I'm going to take an extreme example here? Imagine if American football completely takes off across the world in a like the similar to the track that it's already on, like having games played in Germany and Brazil and all these
Sure.
places. Like, the fan base is there, but if we had like a Champions League for every sport,
Oh.
how insane would
Oh.
that be? It'd just be amazing. But anyway, this that we're getting a little
Yeah.
off topic here. But I,
Rising
I
tide
did want
raises all ships.
that's right. That's right. But the the thing I want to zero in on is how we watch sports,
Yes.
and why take culture has kind of got us away from doing it for the right reasons. Um, I have a test that I apply to mostly movies, but to anything that I'm doing, obligations notwithstanding. I call it a touch grass test. And so if I'm doing something, and if I ask myself, I would rather be outside touching grass, I should probably go do that. So if
Yeah.
we apply the touch grass test to an absolutely slog fest, miserable game that your favorite team is completely bogged down into, and you find yourself yelling at the television, just getting completely frustrated at the outcome, and just flying off the handle for no reason. Why are you watching?
Go touch grass.
Go touch grass. Go touch grass. What are you gaining? What
Yeah.
entertainment value are you gaining from watching this game that you're not enjoying right now?
You think I watched much of the Foxes this season?
Why would you?
Why would
Why
I?
would you? Why would you? You think I mean, listen, you can still love your team and love the players on that team, and I know you do. I mean, this is the reason why I love the Cebu Lions so much is because, you know, they have come back multiple times from the depths of the Pacific League, and I'm not going to be watching every single game, but I'll be darned if I'm not cheering on all nine of those guys to do their best and hoping that they can find a way to win. And I mean, that to me feels like the right way to do it. I mean, you should treat it like a local little league team that plays at your park, man. Are you
Yeah.
gonna yell at this kid for striking out the third time and make him cry? No,
Right.
because the great twist of it is, the common defense to this is they're professionals, they shouldn't care. Well, I'm going to link a video in the description by a gentleman who goes by the name of June Lee, who was on Around the Horn for many, many years, did a lot of great ESPN work, has a YouTube channel now and makes really spectacular videos that I have absolutely loved. He made a great video all about this very topic, in which he goes to talk to one of the most maligned relievers of the 21st century in Adam Ottavino, who was a guy who blew a lot of saves in the biggest media market in the world through no fault of his own. I mean, you make mistakes, you lose the game, so what? You get the next one. But
Yeah.
you think these guys, A, don't read, whether you're a journalist, they don't read your articles, or you're a fan who's like commenting something or on like a video or a social media post. You think these guys don't read it? They do. They do. If I guarantee you, if you are mad at them losing a game, they are also mad at themselves for losing that game. So what are you
Absolutely.
doing if you're piling it on? What are you doing trying to tell them that they're garbage when they're already telling themselves that? More than
Yeah.
likely, you know? And this is the problem with, like, and I'm guilty of this, and I know you are too, and I know you are too, armchair coaching. Just sitting
Yes.
there acting like you know what's going on. To a certain extent, you have legs to stand on if you've played the sport before. If you actually like try to study it and keep training for it and keep playing it. But even then, even me who's played ball for a very long time, I have no business telling um, JT Real Muto what he's doing wrong catching behind the plate for the Phillies because
Yeah.
he's in the major leagues. Am I going to tell Johnny Bench, like, of this one thing that he did wrong in 1975? No, he's Johnny Bench.
Yeah.
You know,
I have a
convert.
I have a friend here that I watch Sunday Night Football with, and he always says, "Well, they're there. That's why we're here, and they're there."
I love that. I really, really love that. And that should be if you take anything from this conversation, take that. They're there, you're here. That's not bad. And don't
No,
resent them for being there,
no.
you know? Um, and then the final thing I wanted to discuss is how gambling has
Yes.
changed things. That,
Yes.
and I think if you want to pin this epidemic of hot takes, this desire to have the most controversial sport opinions and be right, naturally money was going to be involved. And I think that it's they say, oh, it's great because it gets you more invested in more games. Again, we go back to the touch grass test. If you're not invested, why are you watching?
Yeah.
If you're too invested, why are you watching? Go touch grass. Don't sit on your phone making $5 bets for 3 hours on end about things that you don't care about. For one thing,
Yeah.
gambling hotline down in the description and make sure we do that as well. But
Yes.
this is what it is. All you are when you lose money, naturally you're going to get mad at somebody who you perceive lost you that money. That's not okay because they
Yeah.
didn't lose you that money. They lost the game. You were the one that put that money down. So when you're leaving DMs on a college basketball player's Instagram
Hmm.
saying, I'm going to kill you and your dog for screwing up my bet, you are a garbage person and you need to rethink your life.
Yes.
Stop gambling. Call the hotline in the description of this video. Sports does not need gambling to be
It
entertaining.
doesn't. It
Sports
doesn't.
does not need yelling or anger or I don't even know, like just this. Sports does not need to be an outlet for your problems. You know,
No.
it's and I
It's
get,
entertain. It's
yeah,
it's entertainment.
I get that
You're
you want to,
watching a bunch of dudes or women play a game.
yeah, I get that you want it to be an escape. I really do. I'll freely admit that it is for me, but you have to realize that these are people who are putting on a performance for you.
Yes.
They're not. Maybe they are doing it for themselves, but the at its root, this spectacle is for you. And you have to realize the degree of effort that goes in to putting this on for you. So ask yourself that next time you're sitting in front of a television set or streaming something on your phone or on your computer and getting really mad at the screen at some guy who you're never going to talk to and
Yeah.
will always be better than you at the sport that you're watching.
Something my
Ask
dad
yourself that.
says. In the
What?
scope of life, it just doesn't matter.
Yes. Make sure that you enjoy the art of sport the right way.
Yeah. Because it just isn't all that important which team wins and which team loses.
The fact is that the game is beautiful.
Yes.
The game is beautiful, no matter what game we're talking about. And we talk about a
My
lot of them.
family watched the Cubs lose for 108 years.
Sometimes live, sometimes on
Did it
TV.
matter?
No,
No.
no.
They had my ancestors had lives, they had children, they had families, they had things that were so much more important than the Cubs not winning a World Series for 108 years. Now, was that an incredible moment when it happened? Absolutely.
Absolutely. And they,
That was an incredible moment for my family and for so many other people the world over. Thank you, WGN.
yeah, and they still had in that time, they had Banks and Jenkins and Kingman and Soriano.
Absolutely.
All these guys that you can
Sosa,
look up to.
Alou.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Latch on to these people, admire these people for all the work that they do. Again, if you're going to take anything from this, take that. Stop screaming at these guys for not doing as well as you think they should be doing.
Yeah.
Admire them for what they are doing and what they are putting themselves through for the amusement of others.
Can you hit a 108-mile-an-hour fastball? I sure can't.
No, you cannot. No, you cannot. I'm going to answer that question for you. No, you cannot. I cannot. He cannot. You can't. 108
Maybe,
is near
maybe a
impossible.
couple dozen people on the planet can. And
I
you
think
get to
that's e-
watch them.
I think that's even being a little bit too generous. I think you can count those people on one hand,
Probably.
and three of those people will likely just wait for that pitcher to miss and draw a walk. One person, I'm gonna say that Shohei Ohtani can probably do that. He probably give him enough time, he will be
Yeah,
able to track 108 and hit the ball hard.
Aaron Judge probably could.
Yeah, okay, I'll throw Judge in there too because he's a great
Yeah.
hitter, a really good hitter. But that's we could go on for a while as we often
That's
do.
Two people.
That's two people of many, many billions of people. Oy vey. Yeah, we could go on as we often do with these end of show discussions. We'll put it
Yes.
right here and leave it to you down in the
Yeah.
comments. What do you think of gambling culture and hot take culture in sports? Do you have a contrary opinion to ours? I would love to hear it. What do you think the virtues of these things are for sport if they have them? I would love to. That would make things so much less depressing if that was the case. But
Yeah.
there it is. And if you agree with us, let us know too.
Yeah. I do have one more thing before we finish out this episode.
Oh yeah? What do you got?
So it is officially the end of an era for Leicester City and likely the Premier League as a whole, as Jamie Vardy has made it official. He will not be returning.
Moment of
Yep.
silence.
I
Praise the Lord.
definitely teared up a bit at the announcement. Um, so I wanna throw it to you, Marshall. Where do you think JV9 will be ending up next season? There's been
So
speculation of the MLS. There's been speculation of Saudi
oh,
Arabia. I know which one of those I prefer.
I'm gonna say neither. Uh, if I know Mr. Chat should get banged, I will likely say he will probably just vanish and return to Sunday League football.
That that would be a fitting conclusion
Is he
to
not
an
the Cincinnatus
unbelievable
of
career.
England? Is he not the Cincinnatus of the Premier League? Like coming from obscurity, working in a steel factory, playing
Yeah,
Sunday League for fun, getting noticed, and then working his way all the way up the league system with Leicester, and then winning the
making his
Prem?
debut at 27 for
Yeah,
professional football.
that to me screams Cincinnatus. And so, I mean, he'll
Absolutely.
get offered a bag, no doubt.
Oh,
There'll
I'm
be some Saudi
sure
Arabia club that
I'm
wants him.
sure they've offered him millions already.
America, I don't know. Um, I think more than anything, the man probably will just go home and spend the rest of his days just playing for fun, or as much fun as that man looks like he has, which is not a whole lot. I have to say he does play angry.
He
Um,
does.
but yeah, I will miss him dearly. Obviously, like his peak was some of the most unforgettable football to watch in all of Premier League history. So,
The volley he
congratulations.
scored against Liverpool in our title season.
Oh heaven. Yes, I remember it well. That was horrifying but wonderful because he was such a perfect like just run and shoot kind of player. He didn't mess around with skills or dribbling or anything like that. Obviously, he could do both to get himself down the pitch to score. And obviously a FIFA god. Uh,
Yes.
so I will
Just
miss him dearly.
a couple more weeks in the Premier League for Jamie Vardy.
We'll look forward to his icon card in FC
Yes,
26 next year. But congratulations on your retirement, JV. You've had a magnificent career, and yeah, all the best to you in your retirement. Let us know where you're playing Sunday League, and we will come and watch for
absolutely.
sure. And what a
Selfishly, I would love for him to come over to the States for a season.
he may yet. I mean, we could be totally wrong. I'm just
We could
approaching this from
see
a
Vardy
cinematic
against
perspective.
Messi.
Well, I think we know which direction we're rooting there for. We need a striker in Philadelphia, JV. If you do fancy it, come on down.
Chicago Fire could certainly use one.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah, one season, then he goes back to Sunday League. But
Yeah,
anyway, that's because I want a cinematic ending for him because his whole career has been cinematic. So we'll see what
can't wait for
happens.
the 30 for 30.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be wonderful. That's gonna be wonderful. ESPN fails if it doesn't do that. But there it is, a
Yeah,
somber yet triumphant note to end this week's episode. Next week we will wrap up the Miami Grand Prix and look ahead to the American circuit or the American series, if you like, because this will kick off a series of American races this year.
yeah.
We'll give MG another history lesson from the annals of NPB to continue to grow his knowledge base. And I think we'll sink our teeth into what some of the toughest positional roles are in sports, kind of tangentially following our take culture theme. Like, we'll talk about how tough sports really can be. What are the toughest roles in sports? That's what we'll tackle on next week's show. But for right now, please do like and share this video if you enjoyed it and you know somebody who would enjoy it right along with you, and make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon down below the video screen to be notified every single time we upload a new episode of this show, and check the description for all of the links that we have mentioned, and you can basically just know everything that we know and participate in the conversation. We'll talk about take culture in the comments down below. Never miss a moment here on ISR. I've been Marshall Mert. This has been Matthew Giesecke, the last episode of the International Sports Report for April. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. But for now, may the force be with you.